Good morning. It's Tanis and Suzanne with Hiring for Good podcast. And we have a wonderful guest with us today. This is Nikki Chen. Nikki, do you want to tell us who you're with?
Yes. Well, good morning, and thank you so much for having me. So my name is Nikki Chen, and I am a business partner for the Office of Equity and Inclusion in the City of Vancouver, and I love every minute of it. I specifically work with fire, police, and public works in ensuring DEI initiatives and policies in their everyday work.
Well, that's fabulous. I know Suzanne and I were just talking a little bit about, our goals for these conversations that we're having. Mm-hmm. And hiring for good means so many different things. We were really excited to have you on this morning because it gives us a really interesting dimension or a take on what it means to bring, people on board that make the world a better place. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, I understand, Nikki, that you have really an incredible journey that brought you to where you are today.
Yes.
I would love to hear about that and how corporate, nonprofit, now government.
Yes.
You've seen it all.
I never thought of it that way, but thank you. I'll try not to go too far back so we won't be here all day. But if I'm initially starting, so I was working at Stanford Healthcare. I was with Stanford Healthcare for about 8 years. And I left that position as a health equity project manager and working in the Office of Research. And we were specifically doing work around just how Stanford Healthcare can connect with their local residents, because a lot of them felt like they couldn't go to Stanford because it was a little too bougie is the word I guess you could use, right? Mm-hmm. And so we wanted to connect and see where was the disconnect and what was missing and expand from there. And we were just doing research and doing some questions and surveys. And we came back with feedback, and it always comes back to leadership. Right? And what is reflected, as well as what does the marketing look like? If I don't see me on your publicities or in your commercials, then I don't feel welcomed. And I left there and did some consulting for myself. Healing Our Roots is a DEI consulting, and that led me to the YWCA here in Vancouver. I did remote contract work for them, and during that time it was amazing. The work that they do there is beautiful, and I wish everyone would take a look and support, because their initiative moving forward is perfect. And with the representation of Brittany Lassane, they really have some great opportunities ahead. So I was there for almost an entire year. During my time there, I supported their shelter expansion and just different areas, and I got pregnant along there somewhere. And in between me finding out I was pregnant, they offered me a permanent position. And so I packed up my family and convinced them to move from the Bay Area, California, to here in Vancouver, so that way I can truly support the YWCA and their initiative. During that time, I was researching and networking and connecting, and I was hinted at a possible position at the City of Vancouver, and I couldn't help but apply out of curiosity. It's not every day you get to be a business partner for the city, especially doing DEI work. And so getting the position and having that one-on-one time with Alicia Sojourner and meeting them and progressing from there has been a dream. And I've now been at the city almost 8 months.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Isn't it funny how our lives never are a straight line?
Correct.
It's all these
Absolutely.
Curves, and life throws you.
Yes.
Throws you a lot.
Yeah.
Me, a lot of curves at least. Exactly. Yeah. And so now you're at the city, mm-hmm. and Vancouver is growing and changing. And when we were just talking before the starting of the podcast, I would love to hear a little bit of some of the initiatives that you in particular are taking on at the city.
Well, I absolutely am. I'm going to brag a bit and say I'm doing a lot, but in a good way. So as I mentioned before, I specifically work with police, fire, and public works. And so each of those departments are very individual and have their own take, but at the same time connected in the mission of having compassion and equity for the movement forward of the city of Vancouver. And so specifically with fire, I've been on ride-alongs, which has been really fun. I've also been on ride-alongs with our police officers, and because I cannot support them in the work they do if I don't know what they do, right? And so I'm coming from the perspective perspective of show me who you are, show me what your day-to-day is, and how can I embed DEI within that journey of what you're doing, or where can I help you to expand it even more of what you're already doing, right? And so, for example, I have been going out to community events and meeting with different people and being like, how can we come back and bring these community connections to the City of Vancouver to expand? Because bringing community and our officers and our firemen together, it does nothing but make a safer place for all when they know each other, right? When your officers know who you are, you go down the street, you're comfortable with them, creating that connection eliminates the fear and the walls that have been put up over the expectations or the disappointments that have happened in the past.
So I have a question around that.
Yes.
So I think that's such a beautiful idea, especially as, in recent years, there's been a lot of strife surrounding, even in Vancouver, some really tricky situations have arisen. How, with trust as the goal, how do you work backwards from that goal to actualize it?
Being authentic, being honest, and being accountable. If we are not authentic in our approach and connecting, and it's just for show, our community members will know that, right? Being accountable for what we have done and acknowledging where we probably could have done better, and actually being honest about the steps we're taking to become better, and being transparent as well. I don't see why we have to hide what we're doing, and what our plans are. We should just let everyone know, hey, we acknowledge this is where the need is, and these are the steps we're taking, and then ask for the patience to get there. I like to say that's why my consulting company was called Healing Our Roots. You're planting a seed, you're starting from the beginning with fresh soil, and it's going to take time. And in the work that I'm doing, I'm aware that I may not see the flower at the end of this, but I take pride in renewing that soil and getting us to a new step.
That's beautiful. How do you go about helping educate the leaders that you're working with to embrace those approaches?
Well, as part of the city's initiative, they've embedded equity in everything that we do. And a great example of that, and I give all thanks to Alicia Sojourner and the work that they have done prior to my arrival. I am just following in their lead and taking and supporting them on this journey. We now have an expectation for all employees within the City of Vancouver. And when I say all, that includes fire, that includes police, that includes everyone, 8 hours of specific DEI intentional learning. It's called professional development for the purpose of DEI. And that has an array of options. 3 hours of in-person, because there's nothing like having that impact of actually communicating with someone. And then 5 hours of self-learning, whether that's watching a podcast like this, watching YouTube videos, interacting, attending workshops, anything along those lines. Our team also offers workshops specifically every week in order to ensure that there's opportunities for everyone in the city to participate and to learn. They range from Safe Zone, which is an opportunity to become a safe zone for the LGBTQ plus community. We have Race and Racism, a deep conversation around what the history is in America specifically. We have Generations in the Workplace, because we all know we now have 5 different generations working at the same time right now. There's a difference between these boomers and these Gen Zs, and how do we collaborate with each other? And those just different opportunities like that too. Because DEI is a lot more than just race, and people automatically assume it's a black and white issue. It's a people issue. People are complex. They come with so many different intersectionalities, so many different aspects to themselves. And in order for us to all work our best together, we need to be accepting of what that looks like in every way possible.
And I know, Nikki, you said you were only there for about 8 months.
Almost, yeah.
Almost 8 months. But these initiatives started prior to that.
The conversations did, absolutely.
Absolutely. What, again, in just a very short period of time, but looking back just in this time, what are you really proud of?
Oh, my team. We are only a team of 3, but I feel like the impact we have had has had a ripple effect, and I can actually see it. And there's nothing like being able to see the fruits of your labor immediately, right? And so I'm most proud to know that the impact that we're making is one of people are feeling like they belong, or if they don't, they are finding their voice to create an environment to belong. And to know that that's the work I'm doing, I'm absolutely proud to do that.
And again, this podcast is hiring for good.
Yes.
And good means beyond yourself or the organization. It's about the community
Absolutely.
at large.
Yes.
And I've heard some very powerful words coming from you. You've said authentic, voice, being heard.
Yes.
And so when you look at yourself as a leader, what are some qualities that you have that is able to embrace others? Because your line of work, it's not just about you.
If I'm honest, I think it's because I live the life I'm working. In terms of my personal life, I am married to someone, a man from Taiwan. I love Taiwan very much. I call it my second home. And our family has a dynamic of we speak multiple languages in our house. I like to say Spanglish for one. Being from California, it's hard not to speak Spanish. My husband speaks Mandarin, and so that is frequently throughout our home, as well as just the different dynamics of we both were previously married. We now have children together as well as separate, and having to navigate all of that, right? That in itself is equity and inclusion, and I live it, right? And so considering myself a bisexual woman and having different fluidity, as well as my children trying to figure that out, all of these different sectionalities are a part of who I am as a person. I'm just grateful that now the work I do reflects who I am.
Absolutely. And then that's you and your team. What about larger in the 8 months, besides the training and you see the education? Because I think that's where it starts.
Absolutely. We have
It
to
always
answer.
has to start with the education and learnings. But give an example, like a real example of that success and the change that is happening.
Wow. I don't want to take credit for it personally, but I can say the City of Vancouver overall is absolutely making strides. I think one thing that they should be very proud of is the 4th plane that has been recently opened, and I've seen nothing but flourishing opportunities there. I'm getting invitations for to participate in activities that are open to all of the community and the vast community, and I think that's an amazing location that has recently opened. The conversations that the community is having around our houselessness community. Just recently, we officially became a state of an emergency to address houselessness in the city of Vancouver. I think that's a great example of taking initiative and taking the steps to do something about it rather than pretending that it's not happening. We're actually being upfront about that. The city has also taken the steps to have conversations around raising the flags for the first time. For example, the transgender a day we raised the flag for the first time, raising the LGBTQ flag for the first time, and having those conversations when people maybe feel uncomfortable with that and being open to dive in deeper and have more about that. We recently are partnering with Vancouver's Farmers Market to ask them what does that look like to expand and connect and support them. And there's so many different opportunities that are there that the city is just making major strides. Housing is a conversation, and in terms of what the expansion of that will look like, as mentioned earlier, the City of Vancouver is going to grow. And so we need to ensure that housing, food, shelter, anything and everything that encompasses the basic necessities of the residents of Vancouver is being addressed and is doing so from the lens of equity and inclusion.
Well, and I think you said it beautifully. We're all people, and we're all very complex. And it's not an easy answer. And Vancouver itself is growing.
Yes.
Tremendously. And I think I shared with you, Nikki, I grew up here.
Oh.
To see Vancouver today, and I think people highlight waterfront and go, what an amazing area. But here you're bringing up fourth plane, which, as you were talking about it, wow.
Yeah.
It needed some help and some love.
Yes, absolutely. And it's just going to keep growing. And I also know that they're taking steps to do Main Street as well and focus on our small businesses, which a lot of people may not know. The City of Vancouver small businesses are majority female owned. And so what a wonderful opportunity to connect with, our marginalized communities and impact them and empower them to grow and expand and be supported by the city.
And are you projecting as much growth in the next 10 years as Vancouver's had in the past 10 years?
Absolutely, possibly more.
I think more.
Wow.
I believe more.
Yeah,
They released
possibly
the
more.
new projections.
Yes.
Growth projections.
For sure. I think I do know for a fact the goal is to become the safest urban city within the state of Washington. And we're going to be the second largest within the next 5 years.
Is that true? Vancouver's supposed to be larger than Spokane within the next 5 years?
Correct, 5 to 10.
Wow.
Yes. And that's why the work I'm doing is so important and so special, is because we want to make sure that all these new people that are coming to us, that when they get here, we have open arms and we're ready. Right. And they're not going to get here and feel as though we're still have different mindsets about certain, cultural activities or different events or different personality types. No, we are prepared and we're doing the work. So when you come, you feel welcomed and you feel like you belong.
Absolutely. That is wonderful. And I lived up in Seattle for 8 years. And again, it was probably, I hate to say 25, 30 years ago. But Vancouver was always kind of on the sidelines. And I think it's interesting that you've taken those sidelines and now are in the spotlight.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. With Seattle above us and Portland below us, right? We're right in this sweet spot of we kind of got away with things for a while, but as we're growing and expanding, we're no longer going to be in the shadow of our big brother and big sister, right? Now we are going to graduate and become our own entity. And we hope to do so with pride. And we hope to do so with inspiration and inspiring others to be like, hey, I didn't know they were doing that, or that's different, right? For example, one of the moments I'm absolutely thankful for is the Vancouver Police Department is partnered with the 30 by 30 initiative. We're trying to have 30% female officers by the year 2030. And I love that I get to be a part of that work and support that team and helping that to happen. Because can you imagine seeing more female officers, around and feeling comfortable and confident if you need to go to them? I've been a part of during some of the ride-alongs where a female officer stepping in would have been a moment that could have absolutely impacted the life of that person on the other side.
Absolutely, because it's representing the community. And I have to say, as a woman, we are more than 30% of the population. Right? So when we're looking at what the impact, it needs to be reflective of the community and the community at large. Absolutely.
I'm curious to know if a part of that initiative is furthering women in leadership as well.
Absolutely.
It's not just hiring 30%. Female officers, but do they have a goal surrounding leadership?
Absolutely. They've already accomplished that goal. In June of 2023, we actually now have 2 female assistant chiefs. Assistant Chief Nielsen as well as Assistant Chief Buist. And I was there at their swearing in, and it was a beautiful moment of expansion for our team. And I'm grateful for both of them. I've worked with them so far, and we have great initiatives and plans together, and look what that looks like. And it's just been a wonderful opportunity to see female leadership within the VPD.
Are there any studies or is there information surrounding women in leadership for law enforcement? Is there any?
Yes. As a matter of fact, that's why we were partnered with 30 by 30 initiative, because they were doing a lot of that study and that research to show that the impact that has, a lot of times it's not so much that women aren't willing to apply, it's that when they get there, they don't feel welcomed. And so that's why a lot of the work is internal, to make sure that our officers know when they come to this position, when they start to work at VPD, they will be welcomed. And I'm excited to share that in January of 2024, Vancouver has partnered with Clark College and is now going to have an academy so that, as a form of being more equitable, they are no longer required to drive 2 to 3 hours and 4 weeks at a time to do their police training in the north of Washington. They can now do it right here at home within our city. And that alone, our chief Maury was absolutely thinking about, what about our families who don't want to leave their children and don't have babysitters or don't have opportunities or just can't afford to rent a hotel or stay somewhere for that period of time, but they absolutely want to be an officer. What a great way to expand that by having that here. And so our mayor, amazing, in support of Chief Maury, was able to get that accomplished, and we're going to have our first program in January.
I think that's amazing.
That is amazing.
And being recruiters, it's interesting when you're recruiting people from out of state into our area, we can actually say we walk the walk and we talk the talk. Yes. And there's now enough evidence and initiatives and movement to where people can see it. And so as a citizen, Nikki, thank you. I truly want to say thank you because it rising tides. We all come up
Yes.
when we are looking at things differently. And I'm sure it's helping your recruiting as well.
Yes. I do work closely with our HR director and our team, and just having the conversations of, okay, how don't we try this, or why don't we try this? For example, I am a big fan of Partners in Diversity. They have a Say Hey event, and I'm actually going to be attending that next week and bringing HR representatives with me just to be like, hey, this is a great opportunity to connect with the BIPOC community, specifically looking for positions here in our city, here in Clark County, in our area. And so, absolutely having those conversations and being transparent. We recently updated our EEO report, and part of that was to make sure our new initiatives were in there addressing, we are looking specifically for women as well as people of color here at the City of Vancouver. And that is what we do intentionally.
Absolutely. And we've worked quite a bit with Multnomah County, and their number one initiative for the last number of years was to lead with race. And most of their hiring decisions were around that, and it has changed that conversation.
Yes.
And for us, again, being able to recruit people into this area, it has made our life so much easier. Absolutely.
I can see
and
that.
so it's funny you mentioned Say Hey and Partners in Diversities. I was thinking we needed to have Jenny here as the podcast, because that's an evolving conversation as well.
Absolutely.
Because it's no longer just the BIPOC community. It's growing. And we've been members for a long time. And
Nice.
in Partners in Diversity. But so let's talk about some leadership qualities.
Okay.
And your boss, and you speak so highly of all your, people. But what do you think, again, and I hope I'm saying this the right way, you have options, and you chose to go to City of Vancouver.
I did.
Why?
Well, I'll be completely honest. I have some family here, and I would come to visit them. And when I would come to visit, I would be in awe. And I would absolutely feel like my heart chakra and my root chakra were just so happy at the beauty. And then also in meeting people and being around them and being like, oh, wow, I see the genuine interactions that people have here. And then to actually attend community events and participate in, for example, going to Juneteenth or going to different, or CVLP's community lawyers programs or different events that they've had. I'm talking to community members and they're like, oh my goodness, we need someone like you here. You would be a great asset here. We would support you. And now that I've officially been here only a year, it's been all true. It was not easy to leave the Bay Area. I was born and raised there. I've never moved outside of California or the Bay Area my entire life. And so it was not an easy decision, but it was the right decision. And I have no regrets actually a year later, because I know that being here and I am making an impact, but it's both ways. It feels like a mutual relationship. Every part of me that needed to be around this beautiful nature and these wonderful people, I also feel like I'm bringing the cultural competency that I have of the variety of people that I've had in my life. Me as a leader, I have to give all credit to all of the many, many women that have been in my life. No offense to any men that have been supportive of me, but I cannot say I did not progress without the representations of managers that supported me. Roxanne, Ling, Sarah, all of these wonderful women, and now I have Alicia, have done nothing but poured into me. And I hope that I am doing the same by giving that back out to our community. You can't pour from an empty cup, and I am lucky enough to have people that make sure I'm full.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. And what a beautiful way to turn around what you've received and give it and pay it forward.
Yeah.
You referenced how proud you were of your team.
Yes.
And I know you, I know you to be a powerful leader and powerful force for change and for good. I'm curious, did you step into your team or did you get to build it out a little bit?
So I am the first and only person to be in this position.
Right.
So we are a team of 3. Alicia was by themselves for the first 2 years almost. And then I had the wonderful Diana Betancourt Macias, who is our project coordinator. They started 2 months before me, and she has been an amazing rock for our team and make sure that we stay on track and solidifying our every steps. And then I came about 2 months later as the business partner. And our team has the wonderful dynamic of being women of color, being part of the LGBTQ plus community, and I have never been in a position where my leader expected me to be my full self and with nothing less.
That's incredibly powerful.
yes.
I mean, I feel like we should give that
Pause. I know. Say that again. You've never had a leader
Who expected me to be my full self, to come into the room as nothing more than Nikki.
And how has that affected your performance and the way you feel about your job?
I would say this past year could have been the worst year, but instead it's been the best for that exact reason. Imagine when I had my baby boy Denzel in January of 2023, he and I both almost did not make it. The physician leans over while I'm on the operating room table and says, "I don't know who's watching over you, but it's a miracle you and your son are alive." During that week that I was in the hospital, I did my phone interview for this position. And I said, I'm here for a reason. You kept me alive for a reason. And I believe the work that I'm doing is a part of that, not just my family and my children, but this work is epic. And I had him January and I started this position April. I gave myself 2 months to recover and got right into work. And as stressful as that could have been, as overwhelming as that could have been, I've had nothing but support. I've had nothing but appreciation, and I've had nothing but someone on my side to make sure that I was okay every step of the way, and especially Alicia.
Wow.
I'm tearing up. This is amazing. Because, we talked earlier about this winding path and no straight lines. That's a very clear signal of I am here for a reason and I'm going to make a difference.
Yes.
And what we talk about it at Acumen. No, because we're all women, and there's something incredible. And I always say, God or higher power, whatever, gives women intuition.
Absolutely.
And gives women this inner strength that if we're allowed to hold on to that strength, it's amazing what we can accomplish. I mean,
Yes.
Nikki, that is amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to take your words and say, not just hold on to our strength, but also remember to help someone hold on to theirs.
Yeah. And give that strength to others. Absolutely. That's
For sure.
Absolutely beautiful.
Oh, no, I think we're all crying. Yes, everybody's crying. This has turned into a real moment here.
A year that should have been rough was actually, I feel really good about it. Like, it's not easy raising a newborn with two preteen teenagers and a husband and just life. Yeah. So these are not tears of like sadness. It's tears of gratitude.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then looking back, and let's just fast forward 20 years.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And because your position and what you do is such a big impact, if you had this magic wand, as we were talking about Disney princesses earlier, what does 20 years from now Vancouver look like?
Oh, wow. A beautiful bridge that connects us all. A wonderful community full of, I'm so proud of our urban forestry and ensuring that the beauty of Vancouver maintains during this expansion. And our children thriving in the community and being able to go anywhere with anyone and not feeling fear. The dream of our chief Maury having the safest city being true. Our officers having a community-based policing would be my personal dream, where they know the children they're interacting with, and being other cities throughout the U.S. being like, how did they do that? And looking to us as the blueprint.
That's amazing. Because there's a lot of nuances in what you said. The word thrive means different things to different people.
True.
The word safe means different
Yeah.
things to different people. And to look at that holistically as a community, not just an individual, that's power right there. And again, kind of why we wanted you to have this conversation, because it's bigger than us, isn't it?
It's always bigger than us, regardless of what your religious beliefs are, or if you don't have religious beliefs at all. The impact you have on someone all starts with the impact you have on yourself. And for me personally, I know that God and the Almighty above me will forever and always put me in a place of next steps. I just have to be willing to trust those next steps. And that requires me to do the work of meditating and listening and being patient and trusting. I mean, who does an interview in the hospital other than someone that knows it's not my plan, it's yours? Right?
Yeah, I think we need to pause on that one. Who does interview in a hospital after just having a baby?
Like someone who absolutely believes in the that humanity can do it. And I think humanity can do it because I can do it. And I'm just a reflection of all of you. I have an amazing, really good friend, Jazzy Lane Baptiste. And that is what she always says to me is, my friend, I am a reflection of you. Your beauty, your strength, whoever you are. And I think of that with everyone I interact with. I am a reflection of you. If that person can do it, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. And there's no one better or above anyone else. We all just have different needs to get there.
Absolutely. No, that's incredible. And I love, again, that draw strength from within, but to share it out.
Absolutely.
And prop it up. And that is true leadership.
Yes.
We talk about there's a difference between managing people and leading people.
Yes.
And I think that summarizes it incredible.
Your brand of leadership begins with service. And I think that's so powerful. And really, I personally believe that to be the most effective model. But
Absolutely.
You're in a really unique position because the guidance and advice you're giving and the wisdom you're sharing and the education you're providing is helping shape a community. With that in mind, the last question we ask of our guests is, what does hiring for good mean to you?
Ooh. Hiring for good to me means that from the moment I read that resume and to the moment their first day, I'm already thinking them as part of my team and ensuring they are prepared. Not what can they do for me? What am I making sure I'm prepared for them? In terms of hiring for good, looking like, and then once they get there, maintaining that, am I making sure that this person feels like they belong here? Am I making sure this person is feeling seen as who they are completely? And am I making sure that I am helping them to become the version of themselves that they think is the best version of themselves? And if that aligns with whatever company or group or nonprofit you're with, then I can't see that with nothing but a win-win situation for all involved. Because what better way to have a team that you are growing? I'll give an example. Chen was one of my best mentors, and Ling was upset one day because she said, leadership is saying all of my people are leaving. She goes, and they think that means I'm doing something wrong. And I said, but Ling, everyone that has left into a leadership role. It just meant that you did exactly what you were supposed to do. You gave them the tools and prepared them. They did not leave because they didn't like the position. They did not leave because you did something wrong. They left because you elevated them.
That's power.
I think we're done. That's it right there. That is amazing.
Drop the mic right there.
Yeah.
No, that it's so funny. This is a dadism of my father, but he always said, how do you can't get promoted unless you train your replacement. And that has stuck with me through my entire career. And it is about bringing up the next leaders.
Yes.
Bringing up those, especially in the 5 generation workforce.
right?
Yeah. So this has been so fabulous. And I hope everybody
Same.
has learned not just really how an effective DEI program can work, but how it's a ripple effect and how it's changing.
Absolutely.
And it's getting bigger and bigger
Absolutely.
and bigger.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
Absolutely.
You
Thank you.
are amazing.
Oh,
So-
thank you so much. Thank you. It was
Thank
really an
you.
honor to be here. I'm grateful for the opportunity. That's amazing.
Well,
Thank
we're
you.
thrilled to highlight your powerful work. Thanks for joining us today at Hiring for Good. If you were inspired by our conversation, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
And if you want to learn more about our executive search services, check us out at www.hiringforgood.net or our company website, Acumen Executive Search.
Thanks so much, and don't forget to join us next time for another in-depth conversation about transformational leadership. Until then, have fun.